When most people ask the question, how do I invest my first $1,000? They immediately think of what stock to buy, or better still, bond, real estate, cryptocurrencies, or who they can give that money to in order to get some return. And this sometimes leads to people looking for get-rich-quick schemes to make quick bucks. I would like to put a spin to this and sort of challenge your thought process, and also share from my personal experience what worked for me in terms of investing to get a good return. But before I go into that, we need to establish that $1,000 is actually not a life-changing amount to invest with the hope that you will become a millionaire in the next year or two. If we were to compare you investing $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000 with the rate of return at 8%, we can clearly see that the higher your capital, or say the money you invest, the higher the returns. This means that our primary goal is to really increase that $1,000 and make sure that you have more money to invest. The first place to invest your first $1,000 is S&M, also known as invest in yourself. I laughed at the first time I heard this abbreviation from an interesting YouTuber that I watched.
Is that you are going to spend your money not on the S&P, but on the S&Me. What?
And it couldn't be more accurate. But before you can invest in yourself, you really need to take stock or analyze where you are in life, be it in your career or business, and where you actually want to be. Where do you stand in terms of the skills needed to get you from point 0 to point 100? What is lacking, and how can you make up for that gap? More like you doing a gap analysis. It's important that you do this seemingly little exercise because it will clearly point you in the direction of the type of education or training that you need to get you to your desired goal. The biggest increase in income that I experienced wasn't because I bought a real estate property or invested in the stock market. It was due to me stepping out of my comfort zone and that familiar space, stepping into the unknown to learn skills that I knew I needed at the time. And with this, I was able to get a new job that was multiple times my salary at the time. This singular action actually changed my perspective when it came to investing and really drove home this point for me. If you invest your $1,000 into learning a new skill, or decide you want to start a business, or even pivot into a new career, you have the potential of making returns greater than the return that you could make from the stock market. Let's say you're an accountant making $60,000 annual salary. If you're to take a course or certification in, say, data analysis, in addition to the accounting degree that you have, this could put you way ahead of your peers in terms of the skill set, and with this, you're able to apply and get a job of, say, $80,000. The increase from $60,000 to $80,000 is a whopping 33%. Which obviously beats the typical annual return of 10% from the stock market. This is also applicable to your business. If you're a videographer, for example, and you know that taking some classes in editing will enhance your work and you could increase your rates because of this, then investing in those classes should actually be your primary focus. The summary here is to upskill and look for ways to increase your earning potential. There are tons of free and paid courses these days, and you can learn from credible people that are doing what you want to do and have results to show for it. There are also learning platforms offering certifications, whatever it is. Make that investment and bet on yourself. I can assure you that the returns will be evident. Once you've invested in yourself and you're on your way to making like multiples of that $1,000, you can move on to number 2, which is investing in the stock market. When you hear stock and shares, they mean the same thing, and most times they are used interchangeably. Investing in the stock market or buying a company stock is simply you giving your hard-earned money to that company. So you own a tiny piece of the company with the hope that the company will use your money in their business operations, make some profits, and give you return on the money you invested. So you could really invest by either buying stocks of individual companies or buy into an index that mirrors the broad market performance. Don't fret at the word index, I would break it down for you. An index simply measures the price performance of a basket of securities using a standardized methodology. The idea is that the index will replicate the performance of a certain area or sector of the market. Some popular indexes are the Standard & Poor's 500 index, popularly known as the S&P 500, or the Dow Jones Industrial Average, or even the Russell 2000 Index that tracks small cap stocks. If you're to take the S&P 500 for example, this index features 500 leading US publicly traded companies, and with this you can gauge the performance of the stock market overall. So rather than buying just Apple shares or Microsoft shares or even Google, you could buy a fund, be it index fund or exchange traded fund, which is like a basket of stocks and companies that closely tracks the performance of, say, the S&P 500 index. With this, you're instantly diversified, and even if a company or sector like the tech sector, as we've recently seen, isn't doing so well, you're still good because this fund is invested in 500 companies in different sectors, which sort of protects your investments. You also get to own a little piece of the 500 companies in this fund. Most of those companies, you already know them and you use them. Aside from the instant diversification that investing in this ETF offers, the expense ratio is actually very low and there are no minimums to invest, thanks to fractional shares. With as low as $1, you're good to go. To provide a bit of context, the VO, or popularly known as VOO, which is Vanguard 500 Index Fund ETF, is up 14% since the beginning of this year. That tells you that there's actually power in simplicity. We really don't need to overcomplicate investing, and just by picking one good ETF or index fund, you're making good returns on your investment. The next type of investment where you could invest your $1,000 is in bonds. A bond allows governments or even corporations, private companies, to borrow money from you with the promise to pay interest. Say the government or private companies needs cash and they want to raise money for their operations. They could issue a bond to invite citizens like you and I to buy these bonds, and they in turn they're able to raise cash. That's essentially the idea. It's simply a loan from the buyer, which happens to be you, to the issuer of the bond. If the borrower has a good credit rating, which means that they are deemed sort of reliable and they are able to pay back your interest and face value of the bond at maturity, the lower the interest rate will be. It's a case of lower risk, lower return. Because this type of investment is very low risk and low return, it might not actually be the best option for you if you want something that is high growth. But there is also the need for you to balance out your portfolio with low risk investments like bonds. Especially as you grow older and approach retirement, you need that stability and that security in your investment portfolio. This next one is for my people that love guarantees and securities for their money. Like, they cannot shout, they cannot be disturbed. If you don't like stories or the uncertainty that comes with the stock market, then the guaranteed investment certificate is your best bet. GICs, they work in a similar way to the certificate of deposits in the US. When you invest in a GIC, you're guaranteed to get whatever principal you invested back when the investment matures, alongside the agreed interest. In most cases, the longer you're willing to invest your money, the higher the interest rate. There are different types of GICs, and the right choice actually depends on your financial situation, your investment goals, what you're trying to achieve, and the time horizon. Say you're investing for a short-term goal, you would want to go with the cashable or redeemable GIC since it gives you that flexibility to redeem your cash anytime you want it. Check in with your financial institution or bank and you can buy your GIC in very, very simple steps. I know EQ has good rates and I know Scotiabank does as well, so you can check out any of these financial institutions. This last point is what I have coined invest in HEN. H for health, E for experiences, and N for your network. While this may not seem obvious or much talked about, I believe if you want to live a wholesome life, these three things are very key. For every time I was sick or had to undergo a surgery, the last thing I was thinking about was the stock market or capital gains. I just wanted to feel good again. Most people are just one sickness or one health emergency away from losing their entire investment. Invest in your diet, exercise, mental health, things that actually make you feel whole. As I grow older, I actually realized that I cherish experiences more than material things. Traveling actually tops the list for me, and there is something about seeing new places that stimulates the brain and mind towards success and productive thinking. Research shows that exposing your brain to new languages, smells, tastes, and sights does actually improve your creativity. You should also invest in your network. Meet and engage with people of like minds or people that are way ahead of you in your journey. It takes one person, just one person, to mention your name in the right room for an opportunity, and this can change the course of your life. After all that explanation, so if today I were to invest $1,000, this is how I actually invested. $500 will be invested in VFV, and VFV is Vanguard S&P 500 Index ETF, which seeks to track performance of large capitalization US stocks like I earlier explained. $300 will be invested in international stocks through the VIU ETF to give some sort of exposure to international markets outside of North America. $100 will go towards bonds. VAB is a good bond ETF. This will provide some sort of safety net for my investment. The last 10%, $100, will be play money, something I won't feel bad if I lose the money. You can buy cryptocurrencies or something along the line. Guys, this is not financial advice. This is entirely for educational purposes. And don't forget to always do your research. One last thing to mention is, as a beginner, it's best to utilize your tax advantage accounts like the TFSA, the equivalent being Roth IRA in the US, and RRSP, which is 401k in the US, before you actually open other taxable brokerage accounts. As with everything in life, you need to be disciplined, which means whatever amount you decide to invest, you need to actually stay consistent. You'll be surprised that $500 a month invested in the S&P 500 consistently for 30 years at an annual rate of return of 10% will yield about $1 million. The most intriguing part here is that you only contributed $180,000 and the rest is your gain. That's the power of time, consistency, and compound interest. If 30 years sounds like a long time, you could try to play the lottery. Who knows? You might be in luck. I'm kidding, guys. All you need to do is increase your monthly contribution from $500 to something higher, and in no time, you'll get to $1 million. If you found this useful, you could check out these 2 videos, which highlight things to do before you start investing and how to invest for beginners. I upload videos every Sunday, and I talk about how to make your money work for you through investing and awesome personal finance content. Thank you for taking out time to educate yourself on your options. The goal is to be financially free and live a life of options. See you in the next one. Bye.